So I wanted to talk about musical competition or music competitions, and in some phrases, depending upon the genre you're talking about, head cutting. Before I get into a little bit of head cutting, I kind of wanted to talk about just this whole notion of musical competitions and why I think sometimes it fails the musicians. If you kind of think about within, say, the classical genre, one of the things that always turned me off personally, and I wasn't raised in a classical genre, was this whole notion of instrumental competitions. So if you play the piano, you're in a piano competition and you line up these players, there might be 30, 15, and then you have all these different rounds and they're probably playing a structured piece. And based upon their performances, the esteemed teachers will rank them. This person comes in first, second, and third. And you have that littered around, whether it be piano, cello, classical guitar. And so I never thought that it did the musician justice, just in terms of the fact that a lot of it was subjective in terms of who came in first, second, or third. And at the end of the day, what exactly is it measuring? It's not measuring who's going to be the best musician. What ends up happening is it has a detrimental effect to a certain extent, and in what I would call the psyche of the musician, thinking that you're inferior just because you did not even place. So never mind coming in first, second, or third, you may not even place, and what does that do to you? Competition is not bad. Let's just call it for what it is and stuff. So, but whether we're talking about the athletic context or academic context, and there's a lot of similarities. If you think about athleticism, so if grew up playing football, there's the NFL combines. That's the perfect example. You got these young guys, they're running 40-yard dashes. If you do a 4.3, that's better than a 4.7. If you can bench press 225 pounds, I don't know, 20, 30 times, another guy can only do it 15 times, then you're viewed as athletically superior to the other individual, and therefore you're going to get a better contract. But as we all know, in terms of athleticism, that doesn't always measure who is going to be the best football player or the best athlete. It's an indicator of it. It is not the holy grail of this person is going to be the best athlete. Same in academics. When you're going to college, you take SATs. You go to law school, you take LSATs. You go to med schools, MCATs, and so on and so forth. And so it's all about testing. And based upon the test results, you're going to end up at Harvard or Bunker Hill Community College or something like that. So that too fails because, as everybody knows, not all of the people who went to these great schools end up being the best at what they do. There are a lot of people who didn't even go to college that end up contributing to society and being far better in terms of what they do and just their overall life pursuit. So, anyway, not to belabor the point, the whole essence of competition in both academics and athletics they might be indicators, but they don't really tell the full story of who's going to be successful. And I would argue that's the same thing in music. When you have young musicians lined up, whether it be the Thelonious Monk Institute, and I watch all these competitions because, let's face it, they're usually really good players. That's bar none. Okay, you get some of the best players at these competitions, and that's kind of my pet peeve about this. There's even a bigger injustice because they're so good. Okay, that little 10-year-old kid playing the violin, he's so good, and then they become traumatized if they don't win. And the same thing, even the adults. When I saw the Thelonious Monk guitar competitions, you can't tell who's better. They're all just great musicians. It depends who put it together on that, and it's also very subjective. So, and head cutting in the jazz tradition, what you'll see is like the musicians going at it with each other, and it's basically to borrow the phrase. I got to be careful of how I say it. It's like if you've got like two guitars, and guitar is a phallic symbol, so it's basically okay. I got a bigger what than the other person when I'm soloing, and at the end of it, it's not about that. It's about your musicality. It's about sharing with something, and it's about learning. So music is supposed to be that if you can make the other person sound good, compliment him or her, then you have accomplished something. And of course, to the listener, competition in and of itself is not bad. It is not bad. It is not bad. It is an indicator of if you've put in the time in, where you are at, and what you need to work on. So don't get me wrong. So I do believe in competitive process, but there is a time and a place for it. And within a musical context, I would argue that it's done a lot more harm than it has good to a lot of players. And there are countless and countless of great musicians who thought that after they did not place in a competition, they were not worthy of continuing to perfect their craft. So, and no, I never lost the competition. I never entered into, at least not musical competitions like that. It's just what I've seen and what I've heard, and I've had the opportunity to talk to musicians who, either they could not get enough nerve to play in these competitions, or they just didn't do well, and some that did well in them. So that's just my feedback on that. All right then, thank you for watching. Practice, practice, practice. Take care now.